And in 3, 2, 1, got with me here Ariel, Ruben for the second time, kind of third time.
Second time.
You were in Kenzie's position for Richard Taylor, the head of U of O's physics department. So kind of your third time on the show, but that's not like a formal appearance. So second time on the show. How have you been?
So good.
Nice.
I've been great.
I like it. You are on a trip. I kind of outed it on a fellow Hummingbird Wholesale Workers episode that you're going. I said Costa Rica, but you're actually going to...
Yes. Puerto Rico, actually.
Puerto Rico, there we go.
Yes.
I like it.
U.S. territory.
Yeah, we'll put that on your map of like, I want to get out of Oregon.
Yeah. Well, it's wild. I mean, I've grown up here. Pacific Northwest is my home. It just feels so, homey. The smells, the taste, the colors, the farmer's market, everything.
Yeah.
It's just very much home. But, we have this incredible opportunity to build a retreat in Puerto Rico. We have an investor friend who's interested in just sort of funding the project, and he wants sort of an off-grid sustainable ecotourism.
So you're going to build like solar, sustainable farm.
Yeah.
Can we come down? Oh my Lord.
Yeah, please come.
Yeah. That's the amount of money I want to have in life, is the amount to just pay someone else to go build my dream home that I get to come down to.
Exactly.
Holy cow. Was he like a lifelong friend? Did you meet him at like a fair or festival and he's like...
Yeah, exactly. He's been a lifelong family
Nice.
friend, and it just sort of all fell into place. He loves both me and my partner, Dan, and it just sort of happened.
That's awesome. Very happy for you. I know. Did you have anything else on your, like, it seems like a lot of big life changes happening for everyone. I mean, we moved, we got a new job. You're moving and obviously getting a new job in that. So it's like what sparked that? Or like, if that didn't happen, do you have a different backup plan?
Good call.
Because I didn't.
Backup plan. Well, I don't know. I think, like Kenzie and I were talking about ahead of this, just how COVID sort of brought up a lot of feels for people. Just like, what do we care about? What do we value? And I know for me, I mean, I've been on this intense business kick for a long time, like started in sort of the Silicon Valley of San Diego with startups and venture capitalists and all of that.
Venture catalyst.
Well, now I'm a venture catalyst, but that was venture capital. And then came back to help my family's business and got really involved in the next generation community here in food and beverage, and really sort of led some fun charges and projects and all of that at my family's business. And then joined a startup, the Hazel People, and then launched into Oregon Rain, sort of got recruited for that job. And I've been a venture catalyst for the last 2.5 years, serving 7 communities in Lane County, which has been pretty incredible, and so many amazing companies. And
it's going to be weird to leave all those founders that you probably met along this way. You're like, I've helped you all those. Okay, goodbye.
No, it's hard. I mean, I really felt it's been my dream job, sort of everything that I could have ever wanted, connecting businesses with resources and interacting with capital and community and, all the different pieces, education, youth, governments, and sort of the intersectionality of all those different pieces, which was so stimulating and engaging and just totally right up my alley.
Yeah. So you weren't burnt out of it. You're still in love with it when you decided to move?
So I'm not burnt out, no. But there is like this craving inside for a shift, and it was hard to articulate for a while, and I was just sort of like, I don't really know. But then I started listening to this incredible podcast, actually, called Magic Lessons with Elizabeth Gilbert. Cool. She's the one that wrote Eat, Pray, Love. But she's all into creativity, and I just started recognizing, like, I've just been burning to bring out sort of my own creative passions and projects. And there's been some sort of squeaking out the corners and just sort of like coming in. And I don't really know where they're going.
Is the video you made unlisted, or is it like public?
Oh, no. All my stuff is unlisted now. It's all secret. It public?
I'm so
it's
curious.
All secret.
Yeah.
Well, I guess... Yeah, I've been really thinking about that. Like, I've had a very sort of business image for a while. Mm-hmm. And it's funny, though. I've, like, showed these really creative, goofy videos to a few people, and they're like, oh, yeah, of course that's Ariel. Like, there was no distinction. Like, we didn't think that you were, like, business and now you're crazy. Like, you've always been this way.
Like a culmination of it all.
Yeah, so that's cool. But still, I don't know. I think I've just had this image of, like, success and progress and money and, sort of... career driven, which has been amazing, and I love it. But I'm sort of at a point of like, I want to slow down and like let some sort of air and space into my creative projects. So
is there anything, part of your brain that thinks you might come back after you like fully build the retreat? Are you going to like live there? Is there going to be like a place for you and your husband there?
Yeah. okay, we're husband. He's my longtime partner. We're not quite, but 11 years. So I guess you could say that.
At that point, it's, what's it called?
Common law.
Common law.
Okay, yeah, common law. But yeah, I feel like the Pacific Northwest is always my home. And again, I have so many connections and, you know, it just feels like, of course, I'd love to always
like disconnecting.
Right.
I'm going to go over there and then you can come back and kind of connect in at any point, which is cool.
Well, and I'm not, you know, my tiny home is still on my folks' land and I just remodeled a box truck into an awesome adventure vehicle. And that's not coming with me.
Not coming with you?
Not yet. We're going to go over for like a 2-month scout and just sort of look for the ideal property and get some things going.
So he doesn't have a property anymore.
No, he doesn't. So he has his own, like, he has a small retreat right on the coast, which is super cool.
He wants a second retreat.
Yeah, he wants a second retreat.
What? Mm-hmm. Is he looking for new friends? Oh, my God. Okay.
Yeah, I know. It's sort of like we can't say no at this point. Yeah. It just sort of all came to fruition. And
so he wants one like inland or bigger or what?
Yeah, so it's actually, Puerto Rico is just incredible. It has like just world-renowned beaches. Actually on one of the little islands, I think it's Vieques or a different one, there's 2 islands that are sort of world famous right off the coast of Puerto Rico.
Cool.
But one of them has one of the top 10 beaches in the world. So like it's some prime time, like the turquoise water, just like all the, it's incredible. So yeah, but then in the middle of the island is like really hilly and sort of wild, rugged, you know, terrain. And there's El Yunque rainforest, which is just like absolutely stunning.
Do you speak the language? Is it Spanish?
It's Spanish. Yeah. No, my partner does. He's amazing. He's fluent. Yeah.
Put it on him.
I know, exactly. Yeah,
seriously. Permanent translator.
Well, and I studied it in school, so I can like pick up words and phrases and sort of formulate getting around. But man, they speak it so fast, especially in Puerto Rico. And there's like little dialect shifts that are really wild.
Yeah,
so.
Reading it at your own pace and then having someone like talk at you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, wait a
can
second.
You talk like my high school Spanish teacher?
Can you talk into my phone? Just like record and just read it.
Yeah.
Have it read it out to you out loud.
Yeah.
That's wild. So how long till you leave?
So I gave my 2-month notice at the beginning of September. I did give 2 months.
It's Hummingbird Wholesale? No,
it's Rain.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Oregon Rain. And I just, you know, so care about this work and, you know, really want all the entrepreneurs to be loved and cared about and, you know, have a great transition. And
is Raj going to take your territories or are you going to train like a prodigy to fill your spot?
So actually, Raj left Rain in January, and I took his regions over.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So, yeah, I know. You sort of did a little flip there.
Yeah,
so I previously had Florence, Coburg, and Cresswell. He had Oak Ridge, Lowell, and Veneta, which I took over, so I had 6, and then Cottage Grove just came on in July.
So, you've been in Veneta a ton. Most of your Instagram is like you out at the Veneta things, you know, which is really
cool. It's been Veneta and Florence and some Lowell and Oak Ridge. It's all over the place.
She's a driver.
It is, yeah. It's been a little awkward, though, during COVID and how to serve all the communities. And some communities are really sort of closed and they're just like, we don't want anything, no events and, you know, very intense. And then other communities are like, COVID, what? Like this. So it's like, it's weird to sort of have to travel between worlds and like put on different hats and
code switching your different political beliefs to match wherever you're in. Totally. I agree with you. Go to a different place. You guys have it dead on.
Yeah.
That's very goofy.
I know. Yeah, but I gave 2 months because I just, you know, I love this work. And actually we're hiring the next 2 people are going to take it over because 7 communities was incredible. And it was also just like, plus we started this new program where we actually stationed an entrepreneur in community. We hired someone who already lived there in each community who has their own business and is already sort of a community builder, and we could just hire them very, you know, part-time, just $1,000 a month to then contribute to the ecosystem and sort of be that top of funnel, you know, and then I would take them through the pipeline type of thing. So, so I was managing 4 people, my entrepreneurs and communities, and then having 7 communities, driving around like crazy, and then building programming, and it just sort of became this like...
So you're like, go, adding creative stuff, go, and then whoa, just like a deadline
I
of
was
living
totally
in a different
just
country.
Like, I'm stopping.
Yeah,
and I'm going to take a 6-month creative hiatus, like to really just...
And it happened to occur right around your 30th birthday, which when we were on Richard Taylor's show, we kind of said when a lot of people do like wild stuff with their life, like go different directions. Did you just like start writing 30 as your age and be like, I'm going to make a change? Or what happened there? And just like, fuck everything I've been building up. See, most people like start the snowball effect and then they like capitalize on that. You're like, nah, slow this down?
You know what? It's so funny. Like, I want to capitalize on it, but I also was sort of looking at next steps and where they would lead, and it wasn't quite in line with what I wanted. You know, like if I took the logical, next step from this career, it just wasn't like the full-bodied, everything dream that I had imagined.
Really?
So,
what would be the full everything dream that you imagine?
Well, I mean, really being an entrepreneur myself and creating my own, I think that I could have gone into local government very well off this job, because we're working really closely with, small scale local governments and communities.
And even someone who was recently on the show, Robert Killen.
Exactly. Yeah.
SBDCC,
Robert Killen. Oh,
SBDC.
I love Robert. He's the best.
Yes.
Shout outs, Robert.
He was wonderful. He dropped knowledge on the show. It's really fun to think about.
Oh, heck yeah. He's amazing. Guy. He's totally amazing.
So you're working like with all these bureaucrats, and you're like starting to like, it's like when Venom, I haven't even seen the movie, when Venom overtakes Spider-Man, you're like starting to get captured by the bureaucracy, and you're like, I'll join them. I'm like, you could really do that? You could go work in an office?
Oh, no. I could never do it.
I thought you were saying you were going to get in. I'm like,
no. I'm just saying it could be a logical next step just because of how well networked this position is. Like government and advocacy could totally be a next step. Of course, business. And just growing in this whole ecosystem.
It's just such a funny word. It's like this all-encompassing thing that like almost means nothing anymore. It's just like, I do business.
Right. I know. And that's where like I've been really wanting to use my voice and use my creativity and I still really don't know where it's headed, but I just need time to sort of like do some deep diving. And
you should befriend a publicly traded company and make TikToks for them. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, that's what you're doing. That works well.
Nutty. So you're making your own YouTube videos, and I've been promoting you to put them on TikTok. Is there a reason you're not going? Because I thought it was really funny. Kenzie was asleep. I didn't show it to her. But I'll show it because they're unlisted. They're unlisted. But it's like, that is like literally... So it was like her like pretending to be all these different personas, like when something happens, like the different.
There's like 3 TikTokers that come to mind.
Yeah, it's
right. There's people already
doing that platform. Yeah,
right.
But you could do it better. No, we're not coming at it like people are already doing it. We're doing it as in that platform loves that kind of content.
Yeah, exactly. No, I will do TikTok.
Nice. Got another one on board.
No, but the whole story was actually just like 2 months ago now. Dan and I were having a cool weekend, but like Sunday sort of got a little wild, and I was just sort of all in like business and chores, and it was not really harmonious or something. And then towards the end of the day, I sort of had this like clearing, and I was like, Dan, like, hey, I'm sorry, this was sort of an intense day. Like, I have an hour. What can we do? Like, I'd love to just do something
schedule
lovely.
in some personal time, and you like switch personas, you change hats. Yeah, I have an hour there, and then you're like, oh yeah, I have all the time.
I know.
In the world.
Why did I say that? I'd never say that, but it was like the perfect in. I sent like subconsciously, I have an hour, and he was like, actually, I really need something from you for an hour, and I was just like, oh my god, what? I'm so scared. No, he was like, I need you to make the video that you've been wanting to make forever, and I was like, seriously? And I freaked out, flipped out like crazy. And the cool thing was I just like had this whole box of costumes that I had been collecting for a while. And I had these like notebooks of visions and ideas. And I just like spent 1 hour and just like pumped out a video. And it was so fun because, it's just like part of me. Just like being on stage. And I grew up with all that sort of like musicality. And
did you record it with your computer
no, just
webcam?
My phone.
Oh, with your phone. I was going to say you could just like set your laptop sideways to record a vertical.
Yeah, I just did my phone.
Honestly, phones have a better camera than like that has 720p. That's a 16-inch MacBook Pro and it has 720p like Zoom call and like webcam. I'm like, that's embarrassing. What are you doing, Apple?
I know.
Our iPads. I mean, I just sold my iPad, but iPads even have better. I'm like, Apple's a funky company,
Yeah.
But, I mean, once you're in the ecosystem, you're sold. It took a long time for me to get the phone, and I mean, you have the phone. You almost can't go without it. Like, you see someone texting with green text, and you're like, I can't really send them photos or videos. It's like, it's its own thing once you get in.
I know. It's true.
So we're captured. But
I know.
The nice thing is I got to sell my nice camera. So honestly, this takes better video and like photos.
Totally.
Better.
Yeah.
It's blew my mind. I was like, why the fuck would I want to change lenses and all that stuff? I'm like, nah, not for me. Yeah. You lose. Don't capture the moment. Hey, wait. Whatever you just said, reenact in like 3 to 5 minutes. You like plug. This battery's dead. Actually.
I know.
It's
I had
wild.
a really nice camera. I've actually had it forever, and I really have hardly used it ever.
You hardly ever use it? I had a nice Sony and nice lens, and I was like, it's just sitting there. So I just sold it.
Canon DSLR. I should sell mine. Well, it still has a little value.
Yeah, for the not Costa Rica, but the Puerto Rico trip. For some reason, every time I don't honestly know the difference or where either one is. If I'm being very blatantly honest.
Okay, so
do you, Kenzie?
We have a map.
We do have a map.
Heck yes.
It's way too small.
Okay, so Costa Rica is where it gets like pretty skinny right there, like as the U.S. turns into South America. Or as Mexico turns into South America.
Like near the it's like north of the Panama?
Yeah. It's above, I think that's Costa Rica, or like all in there. Yeah. And it's incredible rainforest.
And Puerto Rico is an island.
Is like out, see Florida, the little finger, and then it's like way east. So it's one of the islands like right below Florida.
Where I thought it was.
No,
I'm being completely
I thought it was in Africa. No, I'm kidding. Just completely wrong. No, it's funny. I want to flip the map upside down or pay an artist to paint the rest of every other country blue, like the ocean. So it's just America. Like even Canada's just blue, like the ocean.
I don't think you need an artist per se for that. I think you would be competent.
To make it's just like really blue Sharpied in, like to make it like artfully, you know, like acrylic paint over it all, so it still has like that same vibe to it.
Why would you do that?
That'd be hilarious. People would just see like a whole map. It's not even just like zoomed in. It's the whole map. There's just nothing else there.
Just America. I don't know how I feel about that.
Pretty American of you.
I'll keep Puerto Rico in it. How about that?
Okay, great.
Isn't it like annexed or it's part of
America? It is a territory.
Okay, so I get to keep it in.
That's
and
accurate.
Guam would stay in. Hawaii, like a couple places would stay in there. It's not like this like really weird thing. But yeah, so you brought a gift for Kenzie and I, not to like
oh my gosh,
breakneck speed change topics.
I love presents.
Who doesn't? Yeah.
Well,
that's both of our love languages, gifts.
Guys. So this is just one of the snack bags that I redesigned as part of one of my projects a few years ago at Hummingbird.
Score.
But my family's company, Hummingbird Wholesale, and these are actually made in-house. We do chocolate. Ooh. We chocolate different things. So these are locally grown hazelnuts, roasted hazelnuts.
Nice.
Dark chocolate covered.
That's exciting.
And then on the back, it's actually really cute. There's just a little image of Julie and Charlie.
Which are your
my folks?
Nice.
They're so cute.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and a little story. So
just open it up and chug them all.
Hope you enjoy those.
Kenzie doesn't even get one. Fun. Thank you very much. It's funny if I start. Dirtball wanted me to have like his on the show, but when people are eating on camera, like people can drink, people can like smoke on camera,
but the crunches.
No eating. Yeah, the crunches, and then you get that
type of video.
You get the smacky, and then you also get the. It's not ASMR, folks. And some people get like this, like a dry mouth where you hear like a. Every word they say. Those people, like, it was one of the more previous guests. I like kind of like reached over and like moved the mic a little further away. I'm like, it'll hear his voice, but maybe not that as well. But I mean, it's happened to me. It literally happens to all of us eventually, where it's just like, you just have a dry mouth, you know.
So I don't have dry mouth.
This is a subtle. Hey, we should go brush our teeth. Just completely. Hey, is anyone else in the mood for a shower? Deodorant? No. I think the entire Eugene and Oregon community will miss you greatly when you leave. So you might be coming back in 2 months. It's like like an internship kind of thing.
Everything's staying here. Like my tiny home, I feel like a lot of my, my connections.
Could you ship it there? If you said you're permanently going to go there?
Not my tiny home.
Not your tiny home, but your RV.
It's permanent. It doesn't have wheels, unfortunately. But yeah, the truck.
Nice.
Definitely can ship
travel around the island.
Yeah, I know. It feels like we're young enough. We don't have kids. It just feels like the crazy thing you would do at some point when you're young and you don't have all the cares in the world.
I know. Wait, when you don't have kids, you're going to have kids?
I don't know. Probably not.
I know. That's kind of the Mark, but then there's also Zoo and Margaret who live next door who like immediate best friends. And they're like 30 to 33. And they're also like, we don't know if we're going to have kids. And Kenzie and I are looking at each other like, we want to, but it is a very uncertain world. Like, I'm curious if it brings stability or at least the concept of stability into my life to be like, for at least my mental health, I have to pretend like the world will be around in 100 years for their sake. Whereas for my sake, I'm like, who the fuck knows or cares, Like, will it bring a false sense of stability?
I think it's a beautiful thing to have kids, especially when you're like set up for it and ready for it. But I've also seen some incredible changes, like some of my young, friends from middle school or whatever, and having children, and suddenly it's like kid and then full blown like goddess or like, intense dad like vibe. And you're like, wow, that was a big shift overnight. Yeah. Like, that's cool. So I think that there is sort of like maybe a coming of age, or I don't know what it is, but you sort of like shift into the next
And aren't you curious to have that shift at some point? Like, not even so I'm take or leave the kid. Wouldn't you be curious about what that shift is like in you of like moving into the next stage?
Yeah, I think so. I think that I would really want to be set up well, though. I guess I'm just sort of freaked out, to be honest.
How much do you need to be set up well?
Well, the current education system I'm really not into, but that's also because I had a super alternative upbringing, so it just sort of...
We have a close friend who was part of the first like generation of unschooled folks in like Utah or Idaho or somewhere like that. And it's like, I wouldn't put my kids in school, but I wouldn't necessarily unschool my kids.
Yeah.
I'd like to ideally have a job where they get to be like come and learn my skills every day.
I think that is awesome.
Right? You shift careers every decade.
And, yeah.
That'd be, or every 5 years, like you get new habits and they like learn the skills with you. Seems like that's how humans were meant to do. And now it's like, nah, go mass propagandize them more than like, I mean, this is the third time it's been shared, or second time on the show, where you told me to read the 7 school teacher lessons, which I've loved. I shared with her. She loved it as well.
Yeah.
It's like, how would you put your kids to school after reading that, you know?
I know. Yeah, the 7-lesson school teacher.
Yeah, I'll have...
so good.
Yeah, instead of like 1-on-1, which kids do best with, we'll put it 30-on-1. And they're learning stuff that doesn't interest them and isn't really useful.
Doesn't really pertain to any useful
Teach
skills.
kids videography and coding and like I don't even code, but I would want to teach
farming.
them. And farming and all these things.
Be outside
things
and
that are useful.
be in nature and do useful things.
Don't sit for 8 hours as a child.
Yeah.
Like,
totally.
I get mad at them. Oh, they have pump them full of drugs. That puppy can't sit still. Pump them full.
I know.
Of Adderall. Oh my God.
It's terrible.
I mean, I feel like we just had someone on the show who took it when he was like 7. Who was that?
Yeah.
It may have been 2 episodes ago. It may have been Colton. He said he was like on it when he was 7.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so.
Nicole Pellion, she was in season 2 of Alone. She made out there like super long time. It's like the show where you're just you and you have to survive versus everyone else.
No
so she wrote books. She's like an Amazon bestseller. We got to meet her through the Arcimoto folks, and her kid drove down from Portland to come on the show. And I was like so surprised that like he would be on like a pharmaceutical. It seems like you would never put your kid on
right.
I think there's definitely a time and a place. Like I've taken them recreationally, so it's not like I'm completely against them, but I'm like 7-year-olds developing. If a school system says your kid isn't learning, they're doing the right, like the kid's onto something. Like I would be happy to hear that my kid isn't paying attention in school. I'd be like, especially with, do you have any like video games on your phone?
I don't know.
I never did. But now there's Genshin Impact, there's TikTok, there's League of Legends on your phone, there's Call of Duty. And it's like, I would be in school. Like I was mesmerized by RuneScape and Minecraft. And now I could be playing 60 frames per second, really bright colors, so rewarding. I would be in middle school and high school like there's no way I'd pay attention. Holy cow.
Well, I also feel like a lot of schooling, to be honest, is like removed from reality because you're just reading about it and it's sort of like, it's not experiential. It's so sort of like third party or like, you know, it's been philosophized upon until it's like not really representative of what's actually going on.
I agree.
That's just my feels.
And then you realize some of it's not true, and then you question everything that teacher taught you, and then you question everything you've learned in school, and you're like, what's the point of it all?
I feel like people are waking up and, you know, changing things. And
yes, but it's also getting worse. Imagine your kids in school right now with COVID, or like your kids on Zoom call and they're wearing a mask all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my Lord, I know. Like, I even have like someone, he teaches up at OSU, and he was my teacher and then my boss, and now he just comes on the show every once in a while, which is awesome. But he's like very like vaccine, like super left wing, but he was even like the kids need to be in school. Like down to a certain age, like kids don't get a single thing from Zoom because all that they should be doing is socializing. Right. For most of our lives, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
Like, all the way up until 22, you should just be socializing.
Totally.
Not like memorizing.
Well, like my ideal situation. So, oh my gosh, the Berkemeyers, they have one of the hazelnut farmers that we work with and we have worked with for years. They're just super incredible and they have incredible product. It's all organic, which is hard to do. No, not sour. No, but the Berkemeyers, they're just a really sweet family. And the next generation, so daughter and then now son-in-law have taken over the farm. And she's like, you know, a few years older than I am. But they have kids and they're a part of like this farming homeschooling community where it's like all these incredible farms nearby. They all have kids and then they all take turns teaching and they all like go to their different farms. And there's actually an old schoolhouse, I guess, that's like utilized.
Is it near Camus Bakery?
No, it's actually, I think, out towards Corvallis a little bit north.
that's kind of how you grew up with like being like taught and trained by multiple different kind of households and families, wasn't it?
Well, I grew up on a commune, but then I went to Waldorf school. So I guess I was in a schooling environment, but just very alternative.
Their farming school sounds like the best parts of Amish without all like completely disconnecting from like, I'm like, I would teach my kid technology because I'm like, I know you're like, I would be big into farming, but I'm like, if you want to make money, like, having your outputs disconnected from your inputs, like you spend 5 minutes, it can do so much more work than like doing something physically. There's something good for the soul of doing something physically. As long as it's for you, but doing something physically for another person is like it's a treadmill for sure.
Well, and I don't mean like farming as in you need to be a farmer, but just like working the land a bit, like understanding how things work, because I think it's just part of us. It's important.
I agree. I know last year I had an immaculate garden, and then this year with the heat and then moving, and it was one of the most heartbreaking. I mean, we moved in here and Kenzie's like, hey, will you help me with the yard? And I'm like, I've been hurt this year. I don't even want to look at the garden. I don't go out there. I'm like, fuck that.
Yeah.
Had to just straight up abandon it.
Yeah, it was brutal because I'm like, what am I going to drive 40 minutes every day to go water? It's like just tomatoes and stuff, and you don't even get that much. But I planted potatoes for the first time this year, and it was fun to see those.
So fun.
It's really fun to see like all these different kind of like how they grow, and like not even to eat them, but just to like see their life cycle. It's like fascinating.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. So do you have anything else like kind of exciting or big that's happening in your life? I mean, moving, changing jobs, you don't have that much going on, Is there anything like
crazy?
Yeah. Creating new content, like everything.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's like, I would love to be I would love to write a book one day. I'd actually love to have a podcast. I'd love to just be sort of a thought leader and a creator, but I need sort of enough quiet time in my life to like contemplate and think well and sort of synthesize a lot of data. And I feel like I've just been on this like data-driven gathering, like just moving
Your thought leadership
forward.
would be regurgitating kind of thing, which is kind of where I'm at with every other day. Honestly, once a week, you'd have more like original thoughts.
Yeah.
And especially if I didn't spend that 6 days off watching TikTok all day, which
exactly.
I get to justify as my job, which is a weird middle ground. Imagine being obsessed and like sucked into social media and be like, this is technically my job. So, I got to know the trends. I have to know the music and what's going on. So it's like 4 hours later and my soul has like left my body.
I know.
So
it's pretty intense.
It's a trip. Imagine blurring that line of like enjoyment with work. So it's mental minefield, but I'm doing okay with it.
Yeah. Wow.
Anyway, because I used to spend all time on Reddit, all the way up until I found TikTok. I would spend like up to 6 hours a day on Reddit, and I blow Kenzie's mind all the time. I'll reference posts from like 6 years ago. I'm like, yeah, and I can like Google and find it. TikTok, you can't Google it. So you have this thing, you're like explaining it to someone, and then you're like, I'll find it, and you cannot find it. So it's like,
that's hard.
It's like a lot less of like usefulness because I can't reference anything. Whereas I'm like, I don't know how much of like knowing useful facts is important because it all changes so much. And like you're having different conversations, and it's like, I've just started learning like being a social chameleon, like knowing your audience of whoever you're around is way more important than like holding true to your, not like hold true to your values, but hold true to like what you think is true. Like you don't have to say something. Like lying through omission is okay in certain situations, I think. Like I don't have to show that side of me here.
Right. I think that's fair. Yeah. I do a lot of that.
Do a lot of that. You want to completely stay off politics, don't you?
I mean, we can go there. I can skirt it, and I can answer
we don't have to like go
to.
really in depth to it. But I think a lot of people would see it's awesome because I think most people would see and be like, "Oh, she's like the most devout left wing person ever." But I think at some point we were talking, maybe it was on a hike or maybe a show, where you're like, I don't know, made some right wing friends, and they also just want the best for their community. Like at a certain point, the more you start interacting with people who are like the don't talk tos, you start realizing it's like they're not evil people.
Right.
They just think that what they're doing is best. And you look at the other side and you're like, I see they have valid points against you guys. And then you talk to them and you're like, you guys everyone wants what's best for their family and their community and themselves.
Right. I guess my problem is the more extreme you go on both sides, I feel like the more similar you become.
Totally.
And so I've been seeing some super weird stuff on the left that I was like, I thought you were peace-loving, like harmony, joy stuff. And they're like, kill all the... And I'm like, what the... Yeah. Like, okay, this is like what typically weird. We would have thought as whatever, you know? And so I guess that's where I get really skeptical and I start worrying about just sort of like the mainstream... manipulation tactics and the news cycle, and they don't.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think they know of the news because they have to, and I don't know how they get their news. Maybe it's just like I don't even know.
But people who watch the news just get a little bit more anxious day by day.
Yeah,
you know, it's like they're good at what they do. They have millions of dollars to purposely keep your attention and kind of like just like I'll just feed her a little anxiety now, and then feed her a little reward, and then it's like less and less. It's like it's heartbreaking. No, the left. The thing that's scariest on the left is like for all of time they're like, yeah, we don't like big government, we're liberal, we don't like big government, we don't like big farm, and then this year they're like, Big Pharma and government are my two daddies. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on, you guys? Like,
yeah.
What? It's like a
no, that's really
flip.
weird for me.
It's trip.
It's really weird.
Yeah, and now it's like right's like, no, we don't like pharma or government. I'm like, well, that was one of the core aspects of why I liked you guys is that I'm like, who likes the government at the end of the day? I'm like, and I was someone who was like going to vote for Bernie. I'm like, you know, I stand like that kind of life at the same time. I understand all the time. At the end of the day, every argument has like a perfect counterpoint. It seems like all of these political conversations are so like nuanced to a point where there's like literally a perfect thing that dispels anything else, and then you can purposely dispel that. And it's like, I've started coming to realize I'm like, these are like endless conversations that don't lead anywhere.
Which I honestly think is important, and I actually love the conversation part of it, and that's the other part that I feel really sad about right now is that conversations aren't really
not allowed. I know.
We said allowed at the same time.
No, someone listens in and I say like, yeah, well, I personally wasn't vaccinated until like a month ago, and people would be like, you should have died a month ago, but now you're okay. It's like, what? In what world am I just not even worthy of like anything at that point? It's like, when like someone in like one of my extended circles just heard that I had a right-wing guest on the show, and like I'm not going to argue with him the whole time, and like I didn't get vaccinated. He's like, I heard you're like an alt-right anti-vaxxer now, and I'm like, that's a jump. That's a logical leap for sure. Like, I don't know about that. I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's weird that befriending both people, both sides get to say, oh, see, you're the other side. It's like, you know, they almost get to control your friends and what you say and think. And I'm like, this is religion. I was going to say, I'm like,
yeah, it is religion. That's what's scary.
Spooky.
And like, believe science. You're not supposed to believe science.
Oh,
you're supposed to test
God.
science.
Kenzie and I say that all the time.
That's such a weird thing.
Believe science literally is something, as soon as someone says it, I'm like, I lose most respect for you. Yeah. It's like, what are you talking about? Believe science. It's like, it's the currently best thing. It's made to be disproven. Yeah. It's built for that. It's not like, yep, science is the new religion.
Yeah, exactly.
Paid for by Big Pharma.
I know. It's totally.
Brought to you by Pfizer. Remember to take your statins, even though they don't do that much. Yes. And they give you ED, but good thing we sell Viagra too. Shout out Pfizer. No, I'm kidding. Seriously, it's like, why don't you trust this company? I'm like, I don't know, because they barely pass double-blind studies, and what they sell just has side effects that their other things cure, and that it's just It's like, I know.
And the FDA's, 50% of their budget comes from literally Big Pharma.
Yeah, I know. Well, even a close friend who actually died, he was an old gay man in his 70s who I just like loved. He was a blast, but he was a diabetic and had a lot of challenges. He died last year, actually, in the hospital, not even of COVID, but like we couldn't see him, and it was just really sad. Woof. But just like I lived with him on their land in San Diego while I was working at my big professional venture capital job. But it was really cool. He was just a wonderful friend. But yeah, he was taking all these medications, and I would like read one, and it would be like side effects, heart murmur, and then he had like the heart murmur medication, and then it'd be like side effects, blah blah blah, liver. I'm like, and then I was like, I cannot.
Amazed. Kenzie and I were thinking that last night because it's like, massages and stuff aren't covered by insurance, but surgery is. Because then you're on a lifetime of pills and more surgery and stuff. And I was like, I would say a thought that I had last night that's my most controversial thought. I don't believe this for people listening, but it's a thought. Mostly there was a Kenzie, you want me to say.
Half of the audience is not going to leave.
There was a TikTok that came out where there's a girl sitting there, and what was written on the screen was that feminism is a psyop by the government to make it sure like that you have to both go work just to support a family so that your kid gets to go get like indoctrinated, like whereas like normally it's like the kid would always have a one-on-one mother figure in their life, but it's like obviously it's kind of a joke, but there's something to it where it's like, let's remove both parents from the household. They wake up in the morning,
government can be your parents.
And it's like and now you say goodbye to your life partner and your kid, and you go off and work a soul-crushing job just to support it. Whereas 50 years ago, if that never happened, it's like one income could support a household. Now it's like two incomes has to hold.
Totally.
So it's like there's some aspect of it where I'm like, kernel of truth in that. Like, I don't actually think it's a stop. I think like definitely like women's freedoms is a good thing. I don't think people question enough, like, do women have too many rights? Not kidding. One of my favorite go-tos. How to immediately get people to hate you at a party. But like, it is just like, I'm like, that's messed up that like, or even if like women could go out and work and like the man could stay home, like someone should be giving a child care. It's like you wonder why everyone's growing up so depressed. 1 out of 10 women are on SSRIs. Some crazy amount, 30% of the population is on either antidepressants, SSRIs, or Adderall or something. It's like something's wrong there. To be honest,
like that's sort of what I'm questioning in myself of like being on this treadmill of work. Like I love it, and it's super. I'm a very driven person, so it's like stimulating, and I felt like I could just keep going forever. But there's also this moment of being like, wait, like, and then I retired to then live my life.
Yeah.
Like, wait,
and then
something's
decrepit,
wrong
no
here.
energy.
Yeah, like I don't want to do this. And the types of work that I've done are sort of capped in terms of earning, right? Like, it's not just like, you know, this thing that's generating income for you in the back. It's like very much tied to my time.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of what I'm working on next is how do I work
By going
on
into
some...
farming. No, I'm kidding.
No, not farming.
But yeah, creative work.
But yeah, creative work and just sort of online stuff. I want to do the digital nomad thing for a bit. And
Wow. So you code or what kind of digital nomad stuff? Because I've been fascinated by that lifestyle.
I don't know. I'm not exactly sure. I'm working currently on setting up Google Ads for folks and just sort of helping businesses get their ad game together.
Nice.
And you can spin that up well. Like, you can land some clients for like
Absolutely.
$5K a month.
Yeah.
And then you can like land 10 clients for $5K a month.
Yeah.
And then
Once you
you're
set it up and you figure out the good keywords, it kind of keeps rolling.
Exactly. So that's sort of what I'm on right now.
Nice. SEO girl.
Yeah,
You come
SEO.
back. Tiger, you're not using the correct keywords in the description of this podcast. You're not capturing nearly the audience you could. I mean, honest to God, that's the part of this podcast that I cheap out on the most because I really don't care that much. I do it for fun. I get to meet people. But I'm like, man, if I wrote like a really long description, it would help so much.
You should do it. I'll edit
Where's
it
the
for
time
you.
and energy? It's funny. I have a couple people who have
Where's
honestly
the time
offered
and
too.
energy? You just told me that you're on TikTok for 4 hours a day, boy.
Yeah, okay. I thought you were going to say a
Working.
different... Yeah, I'm working. Time and energy. Because, like, okay, so after this conversation right here, what would you possibly name this episode?
Yeah, that's the problem.
Every episode can't be named random nonsense. That's what I'm learning.
But just doing random pieces and then see what bites. I mean,
totally. And then,
the cool thing is that you go everywhere in your podcast. And so you could sort of theoretically appeal to a lot of different types of people.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I'm having
this
fun.
just turned into a consult?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tiger,
It's funny. Robert Killen did that right before he left. He's like, since I'm a small business coach, are you monetizing this? I'm like, well, it got me the dream job. And like, it's, you know, it's just about building connections. Because once you certainly realize that in life that you're like, you really don't need a resume at a certain point. You need to know people.
Yeah.
And how the fuck do you meet people, especially in COVID? You invite people on a show. People love being on a show.
Bring them into your house.
Bring them into your house. And yeah, so literally, it's like, so I'm like, this is my resume more than anything. It's just like
That's awesome.
networking. So I'm curious, if you start up a podcast, will it be just you, or would you use it like as a networking thing?
So definitely networking, yes. Okay, actually, Robert was giving me coaching advice the other day too. I know he gets around.
Yeah, he does.
In a good way.
Polyamorous coach.
God, sorry, Robert. But yeah, so I have this video idea concept that I've only shared with a few people, which is all the different facets of ourselves. And actually, this sort of runs into politics because as someone who's, first, I'm a Gemini. I don't like being put in boxes. I love just
June
being
what?
whatever.
She's a Gemini.
Okay, heck yeah.
June what?
June
20?
6th.
I'm July 7th. She's June 1st. So you're like,
Oh.
nutty.
Stuck
Weird.
in the
6'6".
Yeah.
And you were born in 66. No, that would be
I know. That
that would
be
be
devil.
nutty. I'm 6'6",
I'd be
66.
so jealous.
I know.
Yeah, that'd be like lucky.
That would be cool. No, 91, 30. But anyways, so I've had this idea with all these different characters because I love having conversation and I feel like that's so not okay right now. I want to create a platform where I can have conversations with myself and other people.
Yeah.
But I have all these different characters. Like one I've named Tonya Stark, which is like sort of like Tony Stark, of course, from Iron Man.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, which is like the capitalist part of me who's really into money, super driven, brilliant, but like very self-absorbed and just full of it.
Yeah.
And then I have Fred the Bread, who's just like the opposite of that, who just wants to lay in bed and eat bread and is totally just like, everyone hates me. Like the total
Not
self-sabotage.
the hate me part, but I'm 80% Fred the Bread. As long as you mean lay in bed part.
Yeah. And then I have Spockla, who's obviously Spock, but very Star Trek, brilliant, science-minded, live long and prosper. Yes.
Live long and prosper.
With the great eyebrows and all the things.
Nice.
But Spock is like the rational, obviously like very scientific based, you know, factual side who's always willing to just call it out and say it like it is.
Yeah.
And then I have this like Freedom Joe or Air Unslaved. I haven't really named her, but something.
Air Enslaved?
Air Unslaved. People call me Air, like Ariel.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that was my nickname, Air. So Air Unslaved, like something to do with just being like freedom loving, like I don't even care, like super rebel, just obnoxious, always like a contrarian. I also was maybe Ariel, so it could be Contrariel. I don't know. I haven't figured it out the names here. Yeah, but so there's all these different voices. Then I have this like goddess woman who's super embodied and into just like, spirituality and being
5
a
years
goddess.
from now, I'm on schizophrenia. It's medication now.
That's the thing, though. I am actually worried that people will think I'm totally crazy.
No, everyone has that.
That's the thing, though. Every time I've shared the videos, just secretly, like, what do you guys think about this? I'm totally crazy. They're like, no, this is my inner dialogue. I love this. This is like all the parts of me.
Really relatable.
Moods.
Yeah.
Right?
It. Exactly. So I guess I'm trying to embody that and like show it and also put it on the stage. So Robert was telling me I should use this concept
on
and
OnlyFans.
Oh my God. Sorry.
They banned explicit content. That's the only thing available left.
No,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. They didn't. They unbanned it. But how funny would that be if OnlyFans turns into like just creative work?
Some people bake on them.
Some people put up like actual like YouTube videos on Pornhub and make money from it. So like not completely not porn. So it's like any platform's a platform. Hey, Arcimoto, you should start reposting those TikToks.
Things you learn on Talks with Tiger. Yes. I mean, really, this is
marketing tactic. But anyways, what was his advice?
Oh no, but Robert was saying like I need to actually move this because I would really want to have every type of conversation. I was actually hoping to go even like I wanted to have so I have this video planned. I'm like too excited. I'm freaking out. Sorry if I'm like So I wanted to have this video where like the camera's here and you're sitting across from me, sort of something like this, but I'm at a coffee shop and I'm like lifting my mug or something and I'm like mid-sentence and you're like, so like what's your political background or leaning or something, and like in just a split second all the voices are like
fun,
and then I like come back and
neutral.
Like and then I come back and answer, right?
Yeah.
Like whatever, but
you should
like,
absolutely make that.
But like the dialogue, because I have like a very capitalistic side that's like, I don't want to pay taxes. Like I work hard for this money. This sucks. And I don't really believe what the government's doing with my money anyways. And then I have the libertarian side who like totally doesn't want any interference and wants to just all have Bitcoin or whatever, the crypto world. And then I have like this very sort of like Karen part of me. Oh, I have a red-haired like crazy...
Fun.
She's a Karen and she loves just like, snooping in other people's business and being sort of like I don't know how to call it, but just like, I was going to say Nazi, but I don't think I should say that on the show. That's probably a bad idea. But just like...
I re-edit your video. What are your political views? It's just like does a Nazi salute and it like flashes back to you.
I realized I should not use that word.
Cut out the communist aspect of you.
That's the problem.
Cut out all of them.
I always worry about this type of content like 20 years later and I'm doing something important and they like come back to this moment and just like gruel me. Anyways, but the Karen is there to just like, be, I guess, very left-wing, but obnoxiously so.
Kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah, and in other people's business and feeling like everyone should conform and sort of more of a conformist. Yeah. So I have all the different parts and I want to have like real debate in my head and I want to sort of arrive at a point where I'm just like, maybe I don't really believe in the current political system anyways. Mm-hmm. And like, maybe we could reinvent that. And what does that look like? And having those real conversations instead of like, well, this is my side and the rest of you are dumb. Like, whatever. I also have like a cowboy that has a ton of guns in my videos too.
That's what I do. I just kind of wait for the guests to stop talking and then I keep talking. That's my show too. Just taking turns, just spouting off, not related at all. No.
Okay, but Robert was
cowboy
saying,
with a lot of guns.
Yeah, in the second video.
Fun.
I don't know if you saw the second video, but
I'm stoked.
There's a cowboy.
Yeah, I watched the 1 minute one. And I really liked it, and then I was like, I'll watch the next one when she wakes up together.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
There's a cowboy in there.
Cool.
And the gun is a garlic press. So it's not really a gun. But anyways, so I just have all these pieces and talking to Robert, he was like, I don't know if you just were if you talked about anything, you'd have to land like the viral video to go anywhere.
Apparently it's easy. Just wear a green suit.
What the heck? You guys are awesome. Okay, well then I should consult with you, Tiger.
Yeah,
You're
have one of your
it.
characters be a green suit person. Oh, just for people who are listening. Because earlier, like last month when we were doing the show, I was like, I'm getting like 5,000 views for TikTok. And I was like, nutty. So I have 5 million this week, which is nutty for the company. So I'm amped. I know. Product placement up the wazoo.
Crushing it.
I know. Very amped. So anyways, and awesome. It's all linked to wearing a green suit. There's even a clip from It's Always Sunny, and it's like Charlie dancing in a green suit when he's tripping on acid. And he's like, the green suit's saving my life right now. And I sent it to the group where I'm like, I don't know why, but wearing that green suit on TikTok is like, that's all
funny.
You need. Yeah.
Okay. So. I can have the green suit character. I like this.
And then just be the Pulp Fiction. Man, I don't even have an opinion. It was like, you're like nothing. You're like camouflaged in. There we go. Green suits are only like $20.
Okay.
So score.
I love this.
Yeah.
Anyways, but Robert said I should not do that craziness and not talk about everything, even though I'd love to. And
Bad
he
advice.
says, I know.
I'm sorry, Robert.
But he says I should go more towards the business arena, where essentially I could have a book at the end of the day, and it's sort of like the hidden conversations behind business. And then I could have the podcast where I'm interviewing all the business folk that are already in my huge network.
But would you enjoy doing that, or would you enjoy doing the other thing?
Both. I actually would love both.
Because if you don't enjoy doing it, you're not going to do it.
I would love both. Because honestly,
cool.
to be able to just call up like Raja Young Mountain Tea or whatever and be like, hey, you know, you're successful, you're rocking it. Like, what's your self-sabotage voice and what does that look like? And what's your overconfident voice and what does that look like? And just like getting more into those deep sort of yummy conversations.
Absolutely.
I think that'd be so fun.
It would be a blast.
Yeah, so that's definitely a direction that I might go, but I'm also trying to figure out where's the place for just the crazy
You should also do that. Maybe under a pseudonym or something like that, but I think you'd enjoy that aspect of it. I love having crazy ideas and people who come on the show who like, you know, when you're talking to these people and it just seems like they're low input because everything that they said you've either read somewhere or you've heard someone else say almost word for word, and it's just like it's like a level further than boring where you're like, this isn't even a person.
Filtered.
It's filtered.
Yeah. Programming.
Like the word in community. Oh, that's really nice to hear, Britta. I didn't know. Or it's the fact that you constantly filter yourself makes your lack of a flavor kind of a flavor. Just because she's like, Abed, maybe you should think about the things that you say before you say them.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, it's good to know that you compulsively filter yourself.
I actually also have a video planned that's like being a people pleaser, and I want to like have me as the character trying to cook with every single one of my voices having their opinion. And so I'm like, well, but I like it really salty, and well, I like it really sweet, and then it just like goes crazy, and then I make the most shitty ever food. So it's like that's also important to know, like if we're just being a meh person trying to people please and also please the narrative, it's just gonna be gross.
Yeah, I agree. No, that's why I started just going radical with everything. Truly, though. No, at some point it's like, oh, if you just make something that everyone will like, nobody will love it. No. And you have to have like hardcore people who love what you do rather than like, oh, everyone's like, oh, thumbs up. You know, it's like I would much rather have like be polarizing. Like some people hate it, some people love it.
Yeah, like you might as well have some haters. I mean, I'm honestly terrified about this. Like this is definitely scary.
I got your back.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll go kneecap and we'll go. What's that? We'll go Tanya Harding's boyfriend them.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thanks, guys.
It's nice. Surprisingly, like I expected a lot of negative like hate on the TikToks, and some do. If I use like gas guzzling, like don't use gas guzzling trucks anymore. People are like, where do those batteries come from? Where does the energy that fills the battery come from? And I'm like, I just delete some of those comments. I'm like, fuck those people. But the majority of them, everyone's so positive online. Like, I've noticed that like as long as you're like doing what you like, the community that likes your stuff will find it, and people who don't like it will naturally bounce off. Like. They won't keep getting filtered to your thing because they don't like it, you know? So I'm like, after I think at least an initial period, I think you just start finding your audience and you get, I mean, there's like a certain level of success, like Naval Ravikant's a great example where he's just successful enough that everyone who likes him knows him, but Joe Rogan's successful enough that even the people who don't like him know him. So there's like a certain level, I think until you get like 10 million Twitter followers, you're at a place where only the people who like you follow you, and then you get to a certain point where you're on the news and like, you get a lot, like he probably gets a ton of hate. But Naval, I'm like, who could ever hate that guy?
He's really cool.
He's really cool. It's funny. I listened to his podcast, How to Get Rich Without Getting Lucky, like religiously for like a month, and then reading The Greatest Salesman in the World. I would attribute much of what's happened in my life lately to this. It's nutty. I gave it to you. Did you ever open it by chance?
Yes, I'm halfway through.
No way. Mm-hmm. Holy cow.
Yeah, I got to the point where he's like telling the secrets.
Oh, cool.
And I like the secrets are like intense, and I really want to write them all down and introspect with them.
Fun.
But I'm going to do that when I don't have too much to do, which is at the end of this month.
I like it. So you're at like scroll 1 or something like that?
I think I'm farther than that.
Chapter 8, the scroll marked 1.
Yeah. Today I begin a new life.
Yeah, it was so powerful though. Like, I don't know, I was just loving it.
We've been reading it 3 times a day for 7 months now. Because like the first scroll, the whole thing is like some people read it, it's like, oh, there's a story. But then you can also read as you're the greatest salesman in the world, in which case the scrolls that you're reading, you can say, the first scroll says, I'll read this when I wake up, right after lunch and out loud before bed. And we've been doing it like that because that's how Matthew McConaughey said he read it. And he's the person who suggested it out loud to the world.
He's the greatest salesman that we know.
Yeah, so I'm like, oh, I'll just read it how he read it.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, one of the people who works with Arcimoto, they've worked with like Tesla and these big warship companies and everything. They like, it's called the Monroe and Associates. They like take cars and they break it down to the bolts and they find cheaper and higher quality options to because again, Arcimoto's getting this massive facility. They're going to ramp up production. So how can you reduce a couple cents here and there? And so that person, I was gifting the book to someone and he like grabbed it. He's like, "Oh, I've read this book 30 times." And I was like, "Holy fuck." Yeah. And then everyone at the table was like, "Can I take a picture of that book?" Whereas until then, when I was just talking about it, I handed it to the person, everyone was like, "Fuck cares?" But then like a successful person, like a really successful person is like, "That book's incredible." Everyone just like lost it. It was hilarious. So I was like, it's goofy to think that like a good I'm like, I already said I had a Matthew McConaughey recommendation. Does that mean nothing to you people? It's goofy.
But who are you, Tyler?
Yeah,
I mean, really, that's the question.
Truly. You would not believe how often people in my day-to-day life say either Tyler or Tiger to the point where I don't even correct people.
Did I just say Tyler?
You did, but it's not even a thing. I mean, literally, it's real life autocorrect. It's someone who I like twice or 3 times a week. He says Tyler and he says Tiger every time. That's like compulsive.
That's the first time I've ever said that.
It is, but almost nobody ever meets a tiger, so it's like, who in their average vocabulary is used to like, oh, this person's named an animal. But I know you as Tiger,
and I talk about you often because you're wild.
Wild. That's crazy. We've only seen each other like 4 times, though. Much like right after Richard Taylor's episode, he thought we were like lifelong friends. He was like, "You guys should get married and have lots of kids." I'm like, we both have like long-term partners. He like completely misjudged it. It's funny how you meet some people and you click up so well. That's like when I met these neighbors, it was like, boom, instant best friends.
Yeah.
And then for 1 month, I saw them every day, and now I live next door. Starting 1 month later, I moved in next door to people. That's psychedelic when you meet people. I mean, Kenzie and I met that way where we just met and we're like, boom. Were you like that with your... No, you were the opposite. You met with your partner like 5 years before you got together, right?
Well, I saw him when I was 15 at this meditation retreat. And then every year we would go, me and my mom would go to this thing every summer. And I would see him and be like, oh my God. But I was 15 and he was 20. So that's like awkward.
Yeah.
But then, I went to college in Arizona and he was at this meditation retreat. And I walked around the corner and I was just like, what the?
Yeah.
And he lived in Arizona.
I'm old enough now.
Yeah. And then, we just became best of friends. And
that's awesome.
It's been...
Did he say he remembered you at like at 15 or he's like, I didn't even know
totally.
you
But I was like really shy and would always just be like,
and you're 15. He was 20. There's definitely an aspect to that.
Yeah.
But like when we met, like Kenzie said, because she's 2 years older than me, she's like, I remember you. And I'm like, I remembered what you look like. But I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's so weird to think back of like because we've been together our whole lives, like through like elementary, middle, high school. My daycare was next door to hers. Yeah.
My house next door to my
daycare was next door to her house.
Heck?
Same elementary school, same middle school, same high
gosh.
school. And we never met really in anything. We'd seen each other. And then
I knew his older brother.
Yeah.
He was closer.
He's 4 years
I'm right
older.
in the middle of them.
Wow.
So.
And then we met when we were both living in Corvallis and Flomas. So we met after we had both moved an hour away. It's like, what the fuck, life?
Weird life
Trippy.
choices that all ended up in the same.
Ooh.
Yeah. So life's psychedelic in that way.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was it like, just to like, not to break neck speed, but something I've been meaning to ask about, so I want to get to it.
Yeah.
Would you raise your kids on a commune? Because Kenzie and I are kind of in this world of like, well, we don't like the education system either.
Yeah.
But you hear a lot of horror stories about communes. So why was your experience good? How did you become so like well-adjusted?
Oh, wow. Thank you. What a compliment.
Subtle throw it in there. No, but like really, like I have friends who are like grew up in a commune. They're like, I don't want to come on your show and talk about that. I don't want to relive my childhood as their words for it. Where I was like, whoa,
Well, I think I had a very unique experience of a commune. Like it wasn't the typical commune. It was an intentional community. There was a lot of really awesome people there, including the founders of Coconut Bliss.
Wow.
And there's just some like great thought leaders that sort of came out of that era too. And a lot of people in the food and beverage community in Eugene have spent some time out there, or in the permaculture movement here in Eugene have spent time out there. It was in Dexter, Lost Valley Education Center. It's still going.
Cool. Do you ever go back?
I went back like maybe 5 years ago or something.
Now you're one of those like successful people. Like people will be like, Ariel Ruben was there, rather than you were like the Coconut Bliss people there. People like young kids will be like, Ariel Ruben was there.
Thanks.
Do you just avoid it?
I went back like 5 years ago, and it was just funny because I hadn't been back since I was like 12, and that's when we left. Yeah. So, and it was weird. It was like everything was so tiny and sort of dilapidated and just in this weird like, what is this? Like it was so glorious from my childhood. But for me, it was like really interesting. So it was a retreat center. So there was always like programs going on, like
people meditating.
Yeah, there was like a month-long Vipassana retreat every year, and like monks would walk around in silence. There was like Buddhist thing that happened. There was tons of personal growth things. There was ecstatic dance and gardening and permaculture,
Wow.
and like wings and est and all those like sort of weird out there. Actually, not est. I think just wings, but different personal growth. Yeah, that was different. I think that one was really culty and weird. I don't think we had that at Lost Valley. But anyways.
At least it is in my memory. But I guess trauma isn't, it's locked in memory. Hold on.
But like for me as a kid, there was just a band of kids that were all my age, and we would just run around in the gardens, and it was super amazing. And there was all these apprentices that would come and spend the summer gardening. And so just as a young kid, I got to spend time with people of all ages, and these amazing people just gardening and being there and going through personal growth trainings.
Are you
and
still friends with those group of kids?
A lot of
Nice.
yeah, totally.
Because no one grows up with that anymore. Like I was very lucky to have a friend group going through a couple of my schools. So I even switched elementary schools. But I'm like, I know a lot of people who just didn't have 5 or 10 friends who hung out all the way through middle and high school. Where I'm like, holy shit, I got lucky with that.
Yeah.
So that's cool. You still know them, especially moving away at 12. You can't grab their number at that time. You're trying to remember their name on Facebook or something like that.
No, and our families are still friends.
Cool.
There's just
Do you guys all get together every once in a while?
Sometimes for holidays, yeah.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, there's some deep family stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really sweet. But anyways, I guess for me, I have these just really magical, beautiful memories as a kid, and it just felt very idyllic, like being outside with tons of amazing people, and also being in this giant conference room. I remember there'd be all these adults holding hands and crying, and I'd come around and just pat them on the back and be like, it's okay. And I think being well adjusted, as you said, I think it was part of that, seeing everything and everybody and all ages and
properly socialized.
Yeah, what I think is very important. It takes a village, right? And I think I had a village, which was super cool.
It's cool.
Takes a village to raise a kid. And so anyways, it was heavenly for me, but we did leave when I was maybe 10 or 12 or something, and then we're just fully in town and did that whole thing.
So you wouldn't raise your kid on one?
I feel like my folks talk about the commune now, and I call it a commune. I feel like that's the wrong word for it, because it's true. People have trauma flashes across their eyes.
Absolutely. It was an intentional community.
It was an intentional community.
That's a good way of phrasing it.
Yeah. But they talk about how there was shared income streams, and because there was revenue that was generated through the retreats and stuff. Yeah. And so everyone would get a salary, and you still had your own personal belongings, but there was a lot of shared. There was, of course, the consensus decision making, which someone like my mom, who's fast and, just hated, and she'd be pulling out her hair wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think
has to go through 50 people's okaying it.
Totally.
Drive us crazy too.
Oh God, terrible. But I also think that seeing my folks and how they really grew as people, a community really sands off the rough edges, right? You're in the fire and you have to learn how to work with people, and your shit comes up and everyone else's shit comes up. Yeah. And it's it can be a big shitstorm, but I think because they had really good tools and they set up good tools, I think it just was sort of the perfect fire to come out the other side being better people.
Cool.
And I don't think that's the case for all situations. And I'm sure people came to Lost Valley that didn't have that same experience. But I think where my folks were concerned, heck yes.
Nice.
I think they really did come out the other side better. And so did myself, and I think a lot of the kids that were there, I think, had good experience.
The reason I asked that is because we are just about close to an hour, and you're going to try the fluff for the first time.
Oh,
which is exciting, because, we just walk a 3 blocks, and then boom, we're at the facility.
Yeah, okay, but I don't think I'd raise my kids on a commune.
Okay.
I think it's
That's
just
the
too
question
much.
I was getting to.
No. But I think I would want to have, a lot of people around and just, community.
Which is hard to find without a commune, though, to be fair.
Yeah.
And maybe you found it, but we got really lucky to find it. But up until 25, 20, or 24 and 26, we didn't have it. Now that we have it, I'm like, oh my God, it would be heartbreaking to go away from it.
Right.
Do you have anything you want to plug, your YouTube channel?
Ooh, gosh.
Are you going to make them unlisted? Someone goes to your YouTube channel, there's nothing here.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll just say that.
I'll just paste the unlisted links, don't worry. Ooh, no, I'm kidding. I won't do that. I won't do that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm going to launch arielruben.com soon in the next few weeks.
Because it's Ariel Inc. right now.
Yeah, it's Ariel Inc. right now.
And so what's the change? What was the ink from?
That was just something cool that I thought of when I was younger.
Incorporated?
And I thought it was cool.
Okay, yeah.
But now I'm
embracing yourself.
Let's be arielruben.com.
Cool.
That's cooler.
I'm pegagruber.com. She needs to get Katron.com.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't have a website. Don't look for one.
Yeah.
One day.
You
just have to come on a podcast, and then Tiger's going to threaten some stuff, and then you just got to like make sure your
okay, there we
website's
go.
to that.
I know. It's not our website, but Mark owns badhabit.com. And so we have emails. She has Katron at badhabit.com, and I have Tiger at badhabit.
Funny.
I'm like,
Pretty
yo,
epic.
what a cool
great.
email address.
Yeah,
Fitting.
that's awesome.
It's my sacred one.
Oh my God. Well, I'll just lastly say that listening to this podcast, Magic Lessons, there was one episode with Brene Brown, and she said something about creativity, that unused creativity is not benign, that it metastasizes into shame and rage and fear and resentment. And I thought that was really interesting. That sort of feels like a theme currently, where like I've had all this amazing creativity that's bubbling, and I've had to be like, no, I am, business now.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
That's not,
Yeah.
seriously,
That's the
very
most pertinent
relevant.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess this is just a time for creativity, and I'm really excited. I don't know where it's going to lead, but arielruben.com. My videos will be posted there
So
soon.
you have the thing. If I link it, it'll just be a dead address for a while, or you have
No,
it?
there's definitely something there.
Cool.
Actually, there's a podcast there that didn't
fun.
ever get started, called Silicon and Granola, because Micah said I was the perfect combination of silicon and granola.
Your first episode was named.
Yeah, that's what it was all about. Few years ago when I launched that, and then never.
And now you're just granola, baby.
Yeah, now I'm just going crazy, going rogue. But no, I think that the business side is never going to leave. I think, I'm going to start some income streams that will hopefully keep me stable, and then let the creativity go for a bit, and hopefully it'll come full circle.
I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you for coming on the show. You leave in like a month or two?
Yeah.
Cool. So maybe I'll see you in 4 months when you get back or something like that.
I'll be back.
All right. Goodbye, everyone. Lots of love.
Bye.
And we're out.